In today's video, I'm excited to share with you some tips related to meal planning, cooking, and how the ideal version of yourself is on the other side of you having the courage to face your fears and be brave enough to make changes to your normal habits and routines, which are familiar and keep you comfortable in your daily routines. So today, what I'm making is the first of many fall quick bread recipes that I'll be trying on my fall seasonal meal plan. The way I write my seasonal meal plans is I create a 1-week menu that I repeat every single week for a 3-month season. So at the beginning of September, my family started our fall seasonal meal plan. The great thing about this meal planning strategy is that there are unique ways that I'm able to customize this seasonal meal plan so that not only does my family have structure on a weekly basis, but there are also unique ways that I'm able to have variety and flexibility. And I teach this in my guide to seasonal meal planning, which I have been so blessed with the opportunity to share with over 120,000 people at this year's recent Get Organized HQ virtual conference event. I've also shared the details of my system on my other social media pages, and I've collectively helped over 200,000 people get more organized at home with meal planning. So on my seasonal meal plan for fall this year, one of the things that I am doing is I am making a quick bread every other week. It's one of my bi-weekly choices on my menu. And so today we're making this quick bread, and hopefully as you're watching me make this, you can pick up some tips on how to learn some baking skills and inspire you to also make some quick breads because they are just so fun to make. If you are a homemaker or you're an aspiring homemaker, but when you wake up in the morning, you automatically feel very overwhelmed at home, and the thought of even going into your kitchen to make something like a quick bread is really overwhelming because maybe you have dishes spilling out over the edge of your kitchen sink and your kitchen counters are never really that clean, or your kitchen in general is just not organized and it's not easy to use. I empathize with you because that is exactly where I was on the very early start and beginning of my homemaking journey. I used to watch YouTube videos of homemakers that seemed to have their life in order and they were making these cute recipes in their kitchens. And then I would look at my life and think I was just so far away from that image that I would watch these videos and feel inspired. But then at the same time, I also felt really discouraged because I did not know how to get from where I was to where I wanted to be. So on my page, I want to make sure that you understand where I am now is not where I started. I used to struggle so much with homemaking, and homemaking in of itself is a personal growth journey. It's not meant to be just an easy road from start to finish. It is a series of daily challenges that we have to face both externally as we work to take care of our home and internally as we work through the roadblocks and the resistance that wants to keep us comfortable and wants us to avoid doing the hard work or making necessary changes so that we can actually create a life at home that we love, that we know that we're designed and purposed to create. So if you're a purpose-driven woman or you want to be someone that starts living in alignment with her values, where she wakes up every day and you think to yourself, okay, these are the things that are important to me, and I know exactly which tasks and projects and activities I'm going to work on in order to be my best self and create an amazing life at home for my family, then I suggest that you choose one of the 4 daily basics to really start improving. And if you watched my last video and you know that the 4 daily basics are food, dishes, laundry, and tidying up the house. And I always recommend that homemakers really get great at these 4 areas because when you have systems for these 4 aspects of your daily homemaking and you simplify them, it frees up more of your time to pursue other projects that will improve your life at home. So if you're going to choose food as the aspect of homemaking that you're going to get more organized with, that you're going to simplify and start making easier and more fun, then I definitely recommend that you practice meal planning and cooking. And if meal planning and cooking is something new to you, something you don't do on a regular basis, my recommendation is that you start with something very, very simple and you create a meal plan just for dinner and you write it for Sunday through Saturday. In whichever meals you choose to put on that meal plan, start repeating that plan every week. Before you get into the different ways you can customize a repeating meal plan, I want you to just practice choosing thoughtful meals that are going to be simple, that are going to be homemade, and that are going to help you and challenge you just a little bit to start practicing your cooking skills. The meals that you put on your repeating meal plan can be very simple. They can be things like pasta dishes or tacos or a casserole or a soup or something that isn't going to feel super overwhelming, but it's going to give you the opportunity to practice waking up every day, knowing what you're going to have for dinner that night, and practice prepping for dinner ahead of time. Things like chopping up your vegetables ahead of time, or reading your recipe and measuring out ingredients, and just getting into the habit of waking up and knowing, okay, as an intentional homemaker, I'm going to make sure that I have dinner prepared in the evening for my family. I'm going to make sure that I've thoughtfully decided what we're going to be eating, and I'm going to work ahead to make sure everything's prepared so that we can enjoy our dinner together. Before I started using my seasonal meal planning system, my cooking skills were improving rather slowly because I would sometimes try to create like a weekly meal plan, or sometimes I would just wing it because I would get so burnt out with weekly meal planning. And I would sporadically choose a recipe to practice cooking, and then I would have my husband grab the groceries for it on his way home. And I wasn't really being intentional or consistent with how often I was practicing my cooking. So when I switched to using my seasonal meal planning system and I committed to getting really good at a few recipes, this is when my cooking skills really started improving, because I was making the same recipes once a week. I was getting more comfortable with some of the basic cooking skills that were really, really uncomfortable for me at the time. I hated working with raw chicken, cutting vegetables. I always used to feel so embarrassed because I was like, everyone is doing these really simple tasks and it looks so easy, felt so foreign to me because I wasn't doing it regularly. So by having a repeating meal plan, practicing these skills, my confidence in my basic cooking skills grew as I improved, which encouraged me to start choosing new recipes as I started adding some of the more varying meal slot types in my meal planning system. It was really easy for me to jump on YouTube in my early 20s and watch all of these inspiring videos of these homemakers with beautifully decorated homes, with these lovely kitchens, making these gorgeous recipes. And it was easy for me to tell myself, I really want that. That is who I want to be. This is the type of life I want to live. But what was not easy was actually pausing the videos, shutting my laptop, and facing the discomfort of making changes to my own habits so that I could become the person I wanted to be. It's so easy to just get wrapped up in gathering inspiration and learning more through watching people and listening to people. But I realized that it's not until I actually set my mind to the task that my skills would actually grow. You cannot grow unless you actually do the work yourself. But here's the thing, the only difference between where you are now and where you want to be, and that version of yourself that you can picture in your mind, and she's happy and she's talented and she's doing amazing things with her life at home and her family is comfortable and her house is beautiful. The only difference between you now and you then is you taking those steps to face the very specific skills that you currently are not strong in. And that can definitely be cooking, because it was for me, and I know it is for a lot of you guys because you've let me know in the emails that you've sent me. By the way, definitely join my email list if you want more intentional homemaking topics. I have such a great community of you guys on my email list, and I love sending you more tips and inspiration about intentional homemaking. So if you're not already on my email list, you can find the link to join it in the description below. But if you're going to grow and improve as a homemaker, it's going to require you to sit down and actually read all of the details in the recipe that you've chosen. You need to look at the different steps in your recipe and identify what are the steps that you really just don't feel comfortable with. It can be something so simple. It could literally be chop up 2 large carrots, and you might think to yourself, I don't actually know what that means though. I don't know how to correctly or safely chop up these carrots. And then you Google it, or you watch a YouTube video on how to use a peeler to peel your carrot and to chop it up and to dice it. Take a look at all the different minute details of whatever feels intimidating to you. And instead of turning away from that discomfort, face that discomfort. And that is how you're going to actually become a master of these skills that you're currently not strong in. You have to have that courage to face the embarrassment that we feel internally as a beginner, because that discomfort is just keeping us from becoming even better. If you would like a specific recommendation for a baking book, by the way, that really improved my knowledge of the science of baking and has given me so much confidence as I practice my own baking skills, I highly recommend Kristen Hoffman's book. It's called Baker Betty's Better Baking Book. It's really beautiful, but the whole first section of her cookbook is just explaining how the different ingredients work together when you make a baked good scientifically, so that you can understand what you're doing as you're baking. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. On days where I bake, I think back to when I first started baking, and I would finally get everything in the pan and I would put it in the oven, and I would just flop down on the couch because I was so tired. And that actually discouraged me from baking later on, because then I would come into the kitchen later in the day and all of my baking mess would be there, and I just remembered baking so exhausting. So if there's a habit I can really encourage you to practice if you're baking or cooking, it's to clean up the kitchen as the thing is in the oven baking or as it's on the stove cooking. You want to practice cleaning as you go, because now I'm not stressed out about having to clean up after myself. My kitchen is beautiful while my quick bread is baking, and I can help my children with homeschool lessons or whatever it is that they're working on. And then I can actually pull out the bread, check the temperature, and just be excited about having this quick bread ready for my family for tomorrow morning's breakfast, without it having made more of a mess and more of a burden for me to deal with because I didn't take the time to clean up as I was going. I knew this pumpkin cinnamon bread would be the perfect quick bread recipe to break my family into our new fall seasonal meal plan. My children were so excited about it, and my husband was too. And so the next morning, when I pulled it out of the refrigerator to cut it up, it is just such a joy to see how excited all my kids are. And at first, sometimes I get these thoughts of, oh my goodness, I spent so long preparing this recipe and making it and planning it, and it is almost a temptation to feel like it's a waste because I have 6 people in my family and this entire loaf of bread is going to be gone after breakfast. It's only good for this one meal, and it used to really discourage me to think that there's so many hours to prepare for something and then it's just gone so quickly. But when I shifted my mindset to realize that all of those hours are not wasted, this is the love and the time and the energy that I'm putting into creating great memories for my children. They get to see the depth of my love and what love looks like through effort and sacrifice of your time and your energy. And all of that is an opportunity to add more value and richness into your children's life as a homemaker. It's not just about the finished product. It's about enjoying the process of creating a beautiful life at home for you and your family.